big reason is I play collegiate, play for my college team, and I feel like I've just kind of hit a wall with my own improvement in the game, and I don't want to let my teammates down. I don't want to be the reason we lose games. So
Mm, mm.
and also it's also I I enjoy helping like my some of my teammates improve, and I enjoy coaching them. So I
Yeah.
also want to be the best that I can be so I can help them um, as best I can.
Yeah, of course. So it's like more of like a broad spectrum kind of a goal there for you. Personal
Hmm.
improvement. You feel like you might be able to help other people within your team as well. Okay, awesome. How long have you been playing with your collegiate team?
We started up the program last year, and we just kind of did like side tournaments and stuff last year, and then this year we were a part of an actual collegiate league, so we had regular season matches all year, and then we played in the official Blizzard Collegiate tournament. So two
Nice.
years, but
Ni-
really just 1 year of consistent play.
Nice. Okay. Okay. Makes sense. Are you enjoying that process?
Yeah, it's like it's a lot of fun because it's I get to play games, video games, and I get to play the game I love, but I also get to like there's like the social aspect where I get to do it with friends in person. So I am enjoying that.
Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. When you talk about moving into collegiate initially, how long you been playing Overwatch even before collegiate? Like what got you down that path to begin with?
I think it was like 2018-ish. Like it was, I think about a year or so after Overwatch launched. I got it. One of my friends was like, "Hey, it's on sale. You should get it."
Yeah.
Um, and so then I played it off and on until when 2020 everything shut down. I was like, I want to get good at Overwatch, and so that's what I did. I worked hard, started in bronze and got to plat, and
Nice.
so since
Nice.
then I've been playing competitively.
Okay. Okay. And now, at least at the time of the form, you said you hit diamond.
I'm like Diamond 4 right now,
It's
so
pretty
it's
good. That's
still
pretty good,
about the
especially
same.
since the rank reset. Like that's the funny thing is like
Hmm.
the last 2 or 3 months, if you've or even more, like if you've even stayed about the same rank, that means you've actually improved.
Well, I did not I've not stayed about the same rank. I have dropped quite a bit because my peak was Masters 2. I hit that,
Ah, okay,
and then it's
okay.
just kind of been since then it's kind of just been a decay from that rank to about
Ah,
Diamond/Plat.
okay. So we'll definitely factor in rank reset for at least a full rank, but it sounds like you've gone even a little bit more than that. Why?
Yes.
Do you have any guesses?
I'm not entirely sure, and that's part of the reason why I want to do this because
Makes
like
sense.
I said, I feel like I've kind of hit a wall.
Of course.
Um,
Okay.
and I think I've also just built some bad habits, and I've had some wrist issues, so I've kind of had to adjust my sensitivity and my setup. So I think that might contribute to it a little
Of
bit.
course, of course. Do you think that that was kind of what initially snowballed things? Because I will say that like I work for a couple players who, since the rink reset, have struggled a lot and diminished more than they should have because of the confidence loss. Like they lost a lot of confidence after the rank reset. I worked with players that snowballed even before the rank reset because they had an injury, took time off, came back in, played a lot worse, got tilted, got frustrated, lost confidence, and dropped even more. Uh, Everyone's got their cue point where like the pivot of where I was improving, I plateaued, something happened, and I immediately went downwards. Do you know what that moment was with you? Did you have a moment? Do you even know what it was? Was it the wrist
I think
injury?
it wasn't so much a wrist injury. It was just I started having pain, so I kind of had to
Got it.
take preventative measures. But I think it's probably a factor of multiple things. I think part of it is definitely confidence. I've lost a lot of confidence in my own gameplay.
But
I think
why?
also part of it,
Right? Like
well,
why?
it's I know it's stupid, but I see the rank go down, and that's like
No,
really
that's not stupid.
that's
Yeah,
difficult for me to deal with.
it's hard because it's not intuitive. Anything that's not intuitive in life is hard, even as an adult,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like, well, it's the same reason why like back in season three, everyone was like freaking out because everyone was like, dude, I hit masters. I'm like, bro, it's season three. Everybody
Yeah.
is hitting masters right now, you know? So, but yeah, I mean, but it also cuts the other way. And I think that that was something that maybe the community wasn't quite prepared for.
Hmm.
But yeah, okay. So you want to find out like what has changed, what do we need to be focusing on, and obviously a lot of that's going to be equally out of game and in game. Your form, you say, I want to learn more about positioning. I just don't want to know which positions are good. I want to know how to think more critically about positioning and how to figure out which positions are good. Also, I want some tips on how to deal with downranking and extended periods of losing. Okay, we've come to the right place. I think I am the best. I think obviously I have a little bit of bias. I think I'm a pretty good coach, but I definitely think when it comes to positioning, that's my strong point. So,
Okay.
why positioning though? Like, why is it the first? Because that's rarely the first thing that comes to mind when people want coaching. Usually, it's like, oh,
Um,
game sense or mechanics or something along those lines.
so I feel like I have I feel like I have pretty good game sense. Like I have a pretty good idea of like when things are going to happen because I can alt track. I've learned that. So I can alt track and I can generally have a pretty good idea of like when I should use abilities and kind of how fights are devolving and kind of I feel like one thing I've been very good at improving is like the split second decision making of like in the moment, like, oh, I need to use this ultimate here to turn the fight, that kind of stuff. But I feel
Yeah.
like something I continue to struggle with is positioning. I just feel like I'll die and then I'll watch the kill replay and I'm like, oh yeah, I was totally out of position there. And I just feel like it's something I really need help with. Like because somebody can be like, oh yeah, this is a good position to play and here's why, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense, but I kind of struggle with figuring that all out for myself.
Yes. Yes. I think the challenging part of positioning is their objective positions and their subjective positions. And there's two things that factor in when you're trying to decide positioning that are subjective. One is the character that you're playing, right? What is
Hmm.
a good position with Ana might not be a good position with Reaper and vice versa, right? Ana and Reaper
Hmm.
might want cover, right? And Ana Reaper might want a health pack or an off angle, but the type of off angle or the distance that they play or the high ground or whatever, it might change, right? And the other thing that's
Hmm.
subjective is, and this is why going back to your point in your form, you can't memorize positions. You just can't,
Hmm.
because the other subjective part is the positioning of your teammates in the enemy team. For
Hmm.
example, what's a flank? Where's a flank on first fight? Oasis, let's say City Center, right? S Racer. We could predict what's going to be a flank, but you can't know for sure until you see, okay, that's where they are. Okay, this is my flanking position on that spot, right? You can't just memorize rollouts because what if the enemy team spawn camps you? What if they're really defensive? What if they hold high ground? What if they hold point? The flank position constantly changes depending on where they are. And so it's very important that you do recognize exactly what you said in your form, which is you cannot memorize positions. You cannot do that. It is not good. You need to know rules by which to apply indiscriminately on new maps and new situations and on honestly even new heroes, right? Okay, so Ana Lucio, Bap, Kiriko, Moira. That's a pretty big hero pool. I assume that that has to something to do with partly of what you're doing with your collegiate situation.
Yeah, we our other support player is not very flexible, so I kind of have to be the flexible one.
Got it.
But the big thing is I'm basically just a flex support who plays Lucio. That's so my big three, at least right now, are Ana, Lucio, and Bap. That's
Great.
kind of like at least right now the big three that I'm
That's
playing.
great. That's great. Keep it that way. If that has to change,
Hmm.
drop another support.
Yep.
Right, with how much that you're playing, 2 to 3, about 10 hours per week. It's not terrible. Like that's all right, but you really don't want to be pushing your hero pool too far with that. And
Yep.
try to make your ranked and scrim hero pool mirror as much as you possibly
Yeah.
can,
Well,
just
and
so you're
like I
getting good.
said, right now those are kind of the three that I'm playing with
Excellent,
sometimes Kiriko. That's
excellent,
that's
excellent.
pretty much what I do.
Okay, goals. Stay out of plat.
Yep.
Let's. Can I offer some advice? Don't have that as a
Sure.
goal, because inconsistency is normal, going up and down and up and down. Rather than have negative goals, I know this sounds like some corny hogwash positivity stuff, but seriously, don't set that as a goal. Instead, I want you to try and be like, I'm going to aim to be more consistent with my rank and try to increase my rank to masters. That's the goal.
Okay.
And then we need to ask ourselves, well, then how do we be more consistent? So, do you have extreme fluctuations in your rank over the course of a week or so?
Um, I mean, sometimes I feel like it's more, um, I don't know. I feel like I do struggle with consistency, but it's not. My rank tends to stay relatively consistent. It's because it's like, going up or down one or
Yeah.
two divisions in a
Mm.
week.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like on a personal level, like I'll have days where it's like I just feel like I'm really struggling. Then I'll have other days where I like feel like I'm doing really, really well.
So if you're saying that, like, if I was to like be play like 20 games instead of two or three on the days where I play well, I'd rank up a lot. Or if I were to play 20 games in the games where I wouldn't rank up a lot, I would rank down a lot. Like my fluctuations are bigger, but I'm not playing enough to see it. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then what are those fluctuations? Are we talking about mechanics, game sense, decision making, positioning, attitude, everything? Could be everything.
It's a lot of times mechanics and like game sense and decision making.
Okay. When do you notice the inconsistency? Like when do you go, oh, today is a bad day? How do you know that?
It's
When do you
usually
know that?
like one or two games in, I can usually just kind of feel it.
Okay.
Or especially mechanically, it's easier because you can like see, oh, I'm missing shots, like I'm struggling mechanically.
When do you decide that you're struggling mechanically? Is it in a warm up or is it like in the ranked game?
It's usually because I'll usually do a quick play to warm up and then go into ranked, so it's usually like the first or second ranked game.
Mm.
Um,
Hmm.
I can it's not like 100%, but I can usually tell like if I'm on a better or worse side for the day.
Okay. Okay. Uh, and then can you tell when you have a good day? The same kind of metric?
Yeah, usually.
Usually the same kind of metric. Okay. So one of the things that you have to kind of keep in mind is, let me give you a good analogy here. This is a little bit of extreme, but I want you to bear with me. I want you to pretend that you are a gambler, a professional gambler. Actually, you're not a professional gambler because professional gambler wouldn't do this. That you're just a hobbyist, a gambler, okay? And you're gonna go play, I don't know, what's a dice rolling game, not blackjack or poker because I think there's some skill involved in that. But like, let's just say you're just gonna play a dice rolling game. Is there any skill involved in the dice rolling game? No. You roll a dice, you get lucky, that's it. So you roll your dice two or three times and you get a lot of sixes. You're stupid. And you tell yourself, oh, I'm rolling the dice well today. Does that have any like ground in truth?
Not
No,
really,
because you just rolled
unless
the
they're
dice
weighted.
sixes. Right, unless they're weighted, right? And vice versa. You roll the dice, three ones. Oh no, I'm gonna stop right. I'm gonna stop right here, man. This is a bad day. I can tell. Like it doesn't make any logical sense. Now I want you to consider that, but I want you to consider one that has a little bit more nuance, where you definitely have control how you roll the dice, at least to an extent, a little bit, right? There are a lot of other factors in play, like people that you might be playing versus somebody who's playing really well, or somebody who has really good mechanics, or somebody who's really good in movement, or maybe you just make a couple of unlucky mistakes. But regardless, you have a little bit of control over how you roll the dice, okay? And
Okay.
then you also have a little bit of control about how you roll the dice after that statement. So when you say, "Oh, today is a bad day," how do you think that affects how you roll your skill dice now, if you had any control over them?
I mean, yeah, if you have control, then yeah, you're not going to be trying as hard,
You've
in
lost a
theory
little
at
bit of
least.
confidence, right? Right. You've
Hmm.
lost a little confidence. Maybe you're overthinking, or maybe, like you said, you're not trying as hard. So obviously, the analogy is not perfect, but the point being is that you have limited control over how you perform on any given day. But that limited control is a double-edged sword because, like, let's say that you go into a situation where it truly is a little bit unlucky. You play versus somebody whose movement is really good. They're the same rank as you because maybe their positioning is dumb, but their movement is really good, and you miss a lot of shots. Now you're saying, "Oh, I have a bad mechanical day."
Hmm.
Or maybe you're playing on into a ball one trick and he just happens to get a really good ball map and you're starting to struggle hitting your sleep darts because the guy is playing a new Queen Street. It's the best ball map, right? If you got him on Circuit Royale, you'd be reporting him for throwing the game, right? But you're playing on a new Queen Street and you're like, oh man, I'm just really bad today. Like I'm just game sense is really just not. Now wait a second, hang on. Maybe you just had a bad unlucky start. And the problem is that it becomes a
Hmm.
self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's part of the problem with the inconsistency is generally people interpret inconsistency as something that is their problem. But I think people have a little bit of main character syndrome. I'm not trying to say this to be rude. I have the same problem where when I perceive myself as playing poorly, it's because I'm throwing. I could be doing better. I have higher expectations than yourself. But maybe it's just not that deep. Maybe you're not that
Hmm.
important. Maybe there's a lot of other factors going on. Maybe there's just a lot of luck at play. And the reason why that's bad is because not just that, oh, now I'm going to play less confidently afterwards and lose a bunch of games. Well, maybe, because remember, we've already established that it's not all about you. But the real problem is that you're going to waste practice because you're going to have this negative impression of yourself and decide, oh, it's just going to be one of those days, huh? No, screw it. Like, go 0-10. We don't care. But control what you can control.
Yeah. Well, that's what I try to do. Like when I perceive that I'm having, a bad day mechanically or whatever, fill in the blank. That's when I usually go, oh, okay, so today I got to focus on that.
Yes.
That's how I try to approach it.
I respect that. Right. I respect that. But I would even bring to light a little bit of, I wouldn't even necessarily assume that you're having a bad mechanical day. Because remember, it's a two-way
Yeah.
street. It's movement and mechanics. Have you ever jumped into a death match or a try hard, maybe played versus like a Grandmaster top 500 tracer?
Hmm. I
I
used to
played,
do that to practice Ana. I would go into
yep.
tryhard FFA and just play Ana and just try to survive.
Nothing will make your mechanics feel worse. Because
Yep.
not only do you die instantly, but you just don't hit shots. The movement is just unbelievable. Like they're strafing and
Hmm.
they're blinking, and it just makes you feel like, oh, my mechanics suck. But it's not you. And then you go into like an equally skilled
Hmm.
off. You're like, I'm the greatest in the world.
Yep.
I remember I dominated a couple of plat games right before I climbed diamond on Zenyatta, and I was thinking, man, I'm this good now. Wait till I'm like have like masters or grandmaster level mechanics. I was a little
Yeah.
dumb because it never happened, right? Because as I got
Yeah.
better, so did they. And so I didn't necessarily hit more shots. So
Hmm.
anyway, just something to keep in mind. What I would do
Yep.
is if you're looking to try to control your consistency, try to control consistency of playtime, consistency of sleep,
Hmm.
and consistency of your mentality, which is embracing the fact that you're not going to be consistent every day. The irony is the best thing you can do for your consistency is just let it go. Let it
All
go.
right.
Because when it start to let it bother you too much and you start distracting yourself from what you were saying there, like, okay, I'm having bad mechanical day, whatever, I'm going to go practice something else. Good. That's great. That's great. That's great.
All right.
Have you ever played when you were really, really tired before?
Not really, because I'm pretty disciplined with my
Good for
sleep.
you.
I'm
Good
like
for you.
once like 10 or 11 p.m. hits, I'm not a functioning human being.
Good
So
for you.
not
Good for
really.
you. Good for you. I had a moment way back in the day, like 4 or 5 years ago, when I stayed up way too late playing Overwatch, just like 4 or 5 a.m. I was so tired. I was playing with friends. I was so tired that I legitimately just like locked Widow and just started toggling, like going nuts, because I there was zero hesitation or even like concern that I would not miss my shots. I was just like, I'm gonna hit it, just gonna hit it. And obviously, I
Mm,
started hitting them, and now I'm like, oh yeah, now I'm really hitting them. And the reason why that's better is not like confidence gives you this magical skill. All confidence does is it removes the second guessing. It prevents you from being
hmm.
slow. You just go instantly, and that speed generally leads to better accuracy. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, so
Alrighty.
I think mentality is holding me back the most. Obviously, we talked a little bit about inconsistency here. What else comes to mind when we talk about mentality?
Well, I think my mental has always been the biggest struggle for me personally because I do struggle. I used to when I was like first really trying to get into competitive. I would like I remember one time I cried when I lost a couple of ranked games in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So mentality has always been my biggest struggle. I'm a lot better about it now, but it's
Yep.
still once once my mental starts to go, it's like that's it's difficult for me to recover.
Yep. Yep. I think that there's well, what have you done to improve that? Because
Well, it's for a lot of it is just like um one of the big strategies I used was looking at the bigger picture, where it's like, okay, I lost a couple of ranked games. But then when I look at the bigger picture of like, on the week, it's like, okay, I broke even or I'm up or
mm-hmm.
whatever. That it's like that's the biggest thing that helps me with wins and losses, dealing with that, is just looking at the bigger picture.
Yep. Yep. I'm going to remind you as well, like the best thing that you could possibly do for yourself is two things. One, create an environment where it doesn't like you prevent the worst case scenario from happening, right? Which is being calling it when you start yourself feeling tired or tilted or fatigued, right? The other thing is, as well, is like really trying to improve your ability to deal with that kind of negative or frustrating circumstance. Because the reality of the situation is it doesn't matter how high rank you get. It's actually kind of funny. Do you know who the worst tilters in the world are?
It's probably
Bronze
the people.
players. Bronze players, right? Because they're uber casual, their mentality keeps them in an unlearning. Bronze players and GM players are top 500 players. Worst mentalities. Because the more you play the game doesn't mean that you stop losing, right? Or that you have a better, healthy relationship with the game. So, excuse me. For you, it's going to be about embracing the fact that there will always be games like that where you're getting diffed or frustrated or whatever. I mean, like legitimately, like I remember tuning in one. You ever heard of LH Cloudy?
Yes.
Maybe one of at his peak, one of the best Ryans in the world ever. Maybe he might be the best Ryan in the world right now. I remember tuning in one time to a stream. It might have been a year ago, and I love him to death. He's a great guy. Sometimes has a glass mental, and he was in a Masters lobby with like a Farah, Arabian Farah player, and he was doing some like he lost it, man. He lost it.
Is it Yazan or
No,
however
it
you
wasn't
pronounce his
Yazan. It
name?
was some wannabe
Okay.
Yazan. It was some
All
hard
right.
stuck Masters Farah one trick, playing
Got
on.
it.
I think it was Shambali or something like that. Well, he just boomed. He was so frustrated, and he started playing really poorly, and then they started trashing him in match chat, and then he started to get really frustrated. And he goes into Coliseo, and I'm not joking. I could have played Reinhardt better than him. I'm not being facetious here. Like I could have played Reinhardt better than him the next game. He was feeding off of cooldown. He was pinning Anna's, not canceling his pin, getting slept over and over and over. He's freaking out. And it was just a good reminder. It's like, like this guy is the literal best in the world, right? And he's just feeding. He's just feeding.
Wow.
And it happens to everybody, man. Like it happens to everybody. Not everybody hits that level of a peak. And I think that's the goal, right? That's your challenge. Is like when you start to deal with these things, don't be like, oh, the problem is me. I'm not good enough. I need to No. The problem, that will always be there. You will always need to get better. There will always be adversity. Even Michael Jordan. I mean, how many games did that guy lose? How many game winners? That guy missed more. I think the stat is that he missed more game winning shots than any other NBA player in history, right? But the guy, he took him, right? He took him, and then he dealt with the fallout and feeling bad about, oh man, I missed the game winning shot. If I'd made that one, and it is what it is. It doesn't go away. So you have to, and I know you know this, but you do need to try and work at your mentality around that adversity. And remember, the problem is you, not your skill, but your reaction to that adversity.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Because the adversity will always be there. I think it's very easy to be like, if I just grit my teeth and played more, I would never have to deal with this again. But that is never true. It's a total lie. It will always be there. But that in a way is comforting because it means that, it's all right. I don't have to be a perfect player, I don't need to be. I never will be. So here's what I would recommend. I'd recommend taking breaks during queues. You might have heard me say this in some of my other coaching sessions. I really highly recommend that. I'd recommend always going into whatever training session with goals of like, what am I working on with this character? What am I working on with this character? Don't say positioning. Don't say cooldown usage. Don't say game sense. That's what we're here to review because we want to give you something way more specific than that.
Okay.
And then when you have a bad game, take a break, walk around, 60 seconds, couple minutes, deep breaths, refocus. Think, let yourself feel a little bit upset. All right? It's all right. Let yourself process those emotions. Get away from the screen for 3, 4, 5 minutes. Process the emotions. Think through it. Come away with a plan. Remind yourself of what you need to be doing again next game. Go back and try it again. If it's negative again, you do it again. Take a second, walk away, come back again. If it happens again and you're still like, I'm not being productive with my playtime, okay, maybe it's time to pull the plug for the day, right? Maybe it's time to pull the plug for the day. But give yourself the opportunity to process those emotions, go back and try it again. Process the emotions, go back and try it again. The problem is a lot of Overwatch players process their emotions in the next game.
Yeah.
That's why the tilt queue is so dangerous because it doesn't allow you to actually process the emotions in the right way. It's like trying to rest from a really, like let's say that you kind of tweaked your back a little bit in the last deadlift set that you did. And instead of like, walking around, you go into the next deadlift set. That's not a good idea.
Yeah.
It's not a good idea. Walk away from the bar for a second before you go back and lift again. So
Alrighty.
process your emotions in a more healthier environment. Okay. Any questions so far?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I think the important thing is not just to have like some like vague pseudo babble psychology thrown your way, but to like actually
Mm,
have something to try, right?
mm-hmm.
Whether that's the breaks or whatever else. It's like I want you to walk away from this and be like, all right, I feel like I've got something that a skill I can develop or a habit I can build to help me with my mentality. Because
Yeah, I think it's I do try to take like in like try to stand up and walk around and stuff when I have tough games. But I don't know, I've never thought about trying to actually process the emotion. It's more
yes,
about just, shoving it down rather than actually processing it. So
right.
I think that's something I can at least try.
Yeah, well, because
Try to
it's
feel the
normal to feel that
emotion and then
emotion.
go back in. Yeah.
It's normal. It's not even bad. It's normal. It's what drives people to become better, right? And I think when
Yeah.
people talk about like these people that are really good at like the maturity, it's not that they suppress the emotions, it's that they process it. And the better you get at processing it, the faster you get. Okay, I get over it really quickly, you know?
Yeah.
You get over it quickly, and then you're productive with the processing too, right? You're productive. Okay,
Mm.
okay. Remember, I got to go back and work on my cover usage. You know, that happened a lot with like. I mean, I had a lot of tough ranked experiences when I was like learning Sombra and Venture, and a lot of that like had to just walk away, process my emotions, go back in and try it again, and that's very very important, very important.
Hmm.
Okay, if you don't have any other questions, let's get into some gameplay here.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, what one do you want to start with here? I see two.
In order, so King's Row
Got it.
first.
Got it. Got it.
So
Got it. Got it.
it's basically the King's Row. I started on Lucio, but the I pretty quickly switched.
Why?
Um, so we had Ryan, and he kept getting basically they were running Ana and we weren't, and our Ryan kept getting punished by their Ana, and he wanted me to basically be able to do the same thing for their Ana.
Yeah.
Sorry, he wanted me to do the same thing to their Ryan.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I
Um,
figured. Yeah.
and that was the idea.
Got it. Okay. So do you want to look at the Lucio or do you want to move ahead?
I guess quick glance through, and if you see anything
Sure.
worth mentioning, then sure.
Anna wouldn't have changed that.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't.
he was just getting.
Yeah, yeah. I will say this is where you're going to need to be very careful about. I want you to be a good teammate to your collegiate teammates. I want you to be a good player when you're playing in ranked. And if you're going into this and being like, oh, Ana will help me win this game, that's a really bad reason to swap to Ana. Just FYI. I want you to
Okay,
play.
well, so here's
Yeah,
the
go
thing.
ahead.
Ana is my main, so I'm more
Sure,
comfortable on the Ana, and
sure.
I know how to play it into
Of
Ryan.
course, of
So
course, of course. That's totally fine. But I want every game to be like, I'm picking Lucio because I want to practice. I'm picking Ana because I want to practice, right? And not necessarily trying to pick, unless you're trying to figure out, like, practice making the right hero swaps. That is a skill worth practicing. I would say Lucio, unless you really want to practice your Ana in that situation. It's also hard with Lucio as well because a lot of your value is, I wouldn't say intangible, but not obvious, right?
well, and it's also a lot of times based on how well your teammates can capitalize off of what you're doing.
True to an extent. True to an extent. But I think a lot of Lucio in Overwatch 2 is more about you still being able to make plays that provide impact regardless of whether your team speeds in with you or not.
Okay.
Because you have more flexibility with what you could do. I mean, it's fine. It was worth a shot. Okay, let's, Oh, we're still here. Sure. So what kind of value does Lucio provide? What are you looking to do? Because I know what you're
Also,
doing here, but I want you to think outside the box here.
just in general with the team comp, or
Don't think about team comp. Just period. What does Lucio do?
well, so Lucio, he provides speed boost because his healing is basically just for ult charge most of the time.
Okay.
So he provides the speed boost. I know with wall riding, you can take some like take certain angles that other characters can't.
Sure.
You can in certain cases you can take 1v1s to try to have an impact.
Sure.
Boop is soft CC, so it can help. It can help punish mispositioning from other teams, or forcefully get people out of position so your team can capitalize
Sure,
off of it.
sure,
And he has beat, so that it's just a get out of jail free card.
sure. Why would you pick Lucio in this situation here? Besides the fact that
Um,
it's Ryan Lucio. Okay, so why? What do you do?
well, I mean that was the big reason, was just because our tank locked Ryan, and I was like, oh, I enjoy playing Lucio, and this is a good combo, so I went with it.
Sure, but why is it a good combo?
Because Ryan a lot of times struggles with engaging, because he's slow, at
Sure,
least comparatively. So Lucio can really help Ryan engage quickly.
sure, sure. Have you been able to capitalize off of that value? Has your Ryan engaged enough?
Nope.
Okay,
Well, he engaged and then got wiped, and then we were just fighting to hold point.
sure.
So
I'm sadly not going to really have a lot of Lucio gameplay to look at here, but I want to point out here that you being a good enabler of your Rhine here has not worked out so well because your Rhine has kind of fed. And he's
mhm.
also really not gone in, and all he's really done is traded with the enemy Rhine. The problem with that is that Lucio versus Ana, the Ana's going to win that trade. She's going to hit anti-nade, and she's going to do just as much damage as you. Your advantage over an Ana is what in a tank trade? Bit of a weird question.
As Lucio,
Yeah,
I mean, my thinking is we have speed boost, so we can disengage faster
that's
than
true.
them.
That's true, but your Rhine's not disengaging.
So then what is it? 'Cause that's all I can think of.
I wanna give you a little bit of a weird, not analogy here, but think about you're playing in tryhard free for all. Okay, how
Okay.
does a Lucio play in tryhard free for all?
I mean, you go for 1v1s.
Yeah, he's just a rat, right? He's just all over the place. Okay, keep that in mind. Okay, keep that in mind, especially in Overwatch 2. All right, one fewer
So you
tank.
saying I should have played more like ratty, like tried to take 1v1s there?
I'm saying if there's an off angle available or a DPS or ability to harass and just boop around and disrupt a backline, take it. Take it. So if we go back here, and I see this here, you could speed your Rhine, but the problem is if you were to disrupt backline here, from where should you be doing it?
Mm, on the wall, like the wall to my right.
Right, somewhere here where like at least you're a little bit close, where you could do decent damage, you could break pylon, maybe even boop them backwards. Okay?
Okay.
Unfortunately, you're kind of just barely giving your Rhine aura and kind of playing more to just kind of spam down a line, which there's too many other supports that do that better than you. So
Okay.
the mobility, when we're talking about like wall riding, it's not just about like, oh, it just keeps you safer. The other thing is it's just there's more playmaking opportunities. There's more creativity with how you approach fights. Okay.
Okay.
Even for example here, right? You cannot stop this from happening. You do nothing to this. But what can you do here?
Flank.
Flank. You could also get on the wall here and boop this Genji EDRA back. Maybe bait their attention. I know what your attention here. It's the speed, or amp speed, a little slow, but the attention there was to amp speed your Reinhardt out. I respect that. I think that was the right move. But if that's not working, your job is to get up in these guys' faces. Because again, that's what makes Lucio unique compared to other supports, is your mobility. It's not just your mobility for your team, it's your mobility for you.
Got it.
So just I want you to think more about, especially when you're playing in a ranked environment where you're not always going to have these clean brawl tank trades. There's a reason why Frogger's top 500, and it's not just his mechanics. It's because his mechanics are allowed to provide value through distraction and creativity and so on. And I would also be like, I mean, look at your Ryan. Like, I'm not to be this guy. This guy's a jackass. This guy is feeding like the hungry right now. So again, even when you're picking Ana, what's the goal with Ana for you? What do you get value?
I mean, the goal here for me was to try to punish the other Rhine, which I didn't
Sure.
do a great job of, I will admit. But that
Why
was
not?
that was the goal. That was it was just some poor decisions. Like I threw my sleep dart into the shield there.
Sure.
That was just
So
kind of a Hail Mary. Like
so when should you
it
use your
was
sleep dart
stuff like
then?
that. Well, either probably when I can see that his shield is down.
Sure. Like make
I
him
but I
commit,
was
right?
hmm
He has to commit at some point. If you sit there and Ryan trade, then that's not. It's kind of a neutral value, right? But yeah, exactly. Okay. You're right. Just hemorrhaging damage.
Yep.
See, that right there. If it had been better timed, was a good sleep dart, right? There was a little bit of strategy, but I want you to be strategic with what you're doing. I don't
Well,
want you to
so
be
that sleep dart missed because the Rhine got pinned and laid down. It was on target. It's just his
right.
hitbox went down.
Right, which is fine. I respect that, right? If that's what goofs things up, okay, it's not the end of the world. But stuff, and even like this nade right here, right? Why do you nade there? Well, because they're Ryan swinging, right?
Mm.
So it's a reasonable nade. That's fine. Your job with Ana is to put out offensive nades whenever possible. Look for opportunities to sleep dart if you can, to do damage and then heal.
Mm.
Don't just throw your sleep dart.
Yeah, poor
Okay.
timing.
That's okay. That's okay. I like literally a tenth of a second too early. Okay, that's all right. That's all right. You know what? If it makes you feel any better, I've never seen that before. So congratulations. That's a
Yeah,
first.
it was just
That's
it
a
was
first.
unfortunate.
That's a first. All right. Okay. Now, are you in a good position to output pressure?
Yeah, my thinking here was I went up with the Bastion, so if they dive me, they're not just diving me.
Yeah.
And then well, and even then, if they choose to dive me, it takes more resources because they
Sure.
have to get up to me,
Remember,
and
we
I'm
wanted to
still
talk
able to
about
help Ryan.
positioning. We want to talk about positioning, right? What positioning are you looking for with Ana?
Um, well, I guess yeah, it goes back to what you say. It is dependent on partially on the other team and what they're going to try to do.
From what you know of their positioning right now, do you think that this will be reasonable? Will you have what are you looking for with Ana? What are the bones of a strong position?
Let's
Cover is the
don't
obvious one,
die.
right? Well, yeah,
Yeah, like don't die and
how do you? Well, stop. How do you not die?
um, well, I
Like
guess it would if your team can peel for you, that's one thing that can
your team
prevent you
can't
from
peel for
dying.
you here. So by your own metric, this is a bad position. But yet you said this was a good position.
Well, because the Bastion's here.
Ah, okay. So you're working with somebody else. Is there a situation would it be okay for you to be by yourself? If so, when?
Um, I guess if it's hmm, I guess if they only have like one flanker dive person and that person dies,
Okay.
then sure, I guess that could be a good time to be alone because that's like my main threat.
Have you ever played in Circuit Royale on Circuit Royale before?
I have
Okay. Have you ever been isolated on Circuit Royale, like by yourself?
probably.
Would you feel safe versus like let's say a Genji and a Winston by yourself on Circuit Royale?
No.
Why not?
Or well, I guess I guess it does depend on context. If I get isolated by a Genji and a Winston, then yeah, like it's over for me.
What does isolated mean?
Um, cut off from my team.
How do they cut you off from your team?
Mm. Well, usually it's either, I mean, in their case, it would either be flanking or diving, which
Ah, okay. So you're saying when you
flank,
get flanked or dove, like they're on you, being by yourself is bad.
yeah,
Seems reasonable to me. So how does a Genji or Winston flank you? How do they dive you? What do they have to do?
use movement abilities
Use
usually.
movement abilities, okay? Can you position yourself to deny them the ability to reach you with those movement abilities?
I can, and
How?
I
Go back
tried
to the
doing
Circuit
that.
Royale example. How could you do that in Circuit Royale? Just generally.
Um, well, it would be, I mean, one thing would just be positioning by your teammates, so you have
Okay.
some amount of peel.
Okay.
Um, I guess the other thing would be putting your teammates like, well, I don't know. Because in my mind, I'm thinking if you're playing like way far back on first point and like all your teammates are held like are holding further forward, they would have to really, really commit to dive on you. And so that would definitely be a deterrent.
Ah, so you're saying that distance is a difficulty in a deterrent. Does distance
Yeah,
bother you as Ana?
no. At
We've
least
got
not as
something.
much for my primary
So we've
flame.
got something here, okay? You noticing what we've
Okay.
just kind of uncovered is that when you're
Mm,
playing Ana, having a little bit of distance can earn you the right to be isolated. In
I
fact, maybe
see.
a little bit of distance might just be good, period. There's obviously
Mm,
some exceptions, like a Widowmaker might be difficult, right? But for the most part, all of a sudden we could be a lot more isolated, a lot more creative if I can check the box of distance, especially versus dive characters. Like you look at this here. Are you creating distance between yourself and where the Genji may or may not be?
not really.
Not really. But you're just outside of his dash range, which at least is good. He'll have to dash to get to you. At least it doesn't do damage. What about Tracer? Is this easy for Tracer to access you here?
No, that's a pretty wicked flank.
So all of a sudden, we start to kind of feel why this position feels good is because not only do we have distance on Tracer, but it feels kind of impossible for the Rhine to get to us either. Because
Hmm.
it's not just divers, it's just anything that could beat us over the head. Anything that wants to close the distance, no. That's it. So cover, obviously, everybody knows cover is useful. But this position feels right in your gut because you already know the importance of creating a little bit of distance. You just haven't put it in black and white in your head yet. And now you have.
Alrighty, I see. Yeah.
And it's the same problem that we had with your Lucio positioning, where I was like, why are you playing here when you could pick an angle here, right? And it's actually the opposite with Lucio. I'm not saying that you want to get on top of a Genji as Lucio, but you're compared to an Ana, getting up and dirty with it is a little bit more important for your character to get value. But with
Okay.
Ana, different story. Doesn't mean you want to play a million miles away, but you want to manage your range. And yes, 99% of dive characters really struggle with range. The one exception is Sombra. And Sombra still struggles with range. She just can cheat the staging side of things because she's invisible. But besides that, Ball doesn't want to come at you from a million miles away. He's going to get shot. You're going to see him come in a million. There's no surprise. Winston, Diva, Zarya, Ryan, Ram, Genji, Mei, Reaper, Lucio, Tracer, all of them. Heck, even Venture, right? Really do not like distance. They really struggle with distance. Abuse that. Abuse that. Doesn't mean
Got
you
it.
play passively. You take off angles, but you do so with a little bit of distance. And so I want you looking for cover and distance. Those are your priorities. So this position, really good. This nade, really bad. Why?
Because it went right into the Rhine shield.
But you're describing the symptom, not the disease. The symptom was that the Rhine blocked it, but how did the Rhine block it? Is this the greatest Reinhardt in the history of the universe? No.
Oh, he saw it coming
How did he see it coming?
because I'm right in front of him,
Right? But
and it's
we said this position was good, so where else would you be? So that's not the problem. Why was his attention allowed to be on you and not anything else?
oh, because everybody's just directly in front of him.
That's
There's
true.
no flank, no
That's
funky
true.
angles.
There's not as much of an angle, but we've already established that there's not really another great position here. Like maybe you could have gone for something a little cheeky here, right? But it's not a great. There's not a lot of other options here. So the question then again is why is the Ryan's attention all on you? And does this Ryan have any motivation to swing right now?
No,
Why not?
because there's nothing in front of him, nothing within his range. So
Okay.
his motivation is to just close the distance.
So now we've established another metric with which we use to know when to use our cooldowns when something is happening. Anything.
Yeah.
If this is Ram, Orisa, Mei, Sigma, Winston, I don't care what tank it is. I don't care what DPS it is. Make them start to combat anything, then you nade. You don't need to wait. As soon as this opportunity presents itself, use it. So the problem here is actually the timing. It's not the position, it's the timing. That's why that sleep works. Maybe it was still a little early, but was this Ryan looking at something else? Let's find out. I predict yes. You see it? You see he was ready. He was ready. Here we
Yeah.
go. Here we go. It still felt a little early, right? Which is why maybe got a little lucky. But it was better than the nade. It was better than the nade. So it's not a surprise. Oh wow, what a great sleep dart. No. It was a calculated risk. It's like the dice. You loaded the dice. You didn't even realize it. Nice shot. You see how difficult this is for this poor tracer?
Yeah. That's one heck
Really
of a
difficult.
flank.
It is. Man, it's fine. Obviously, a little bit of an awkward rotation, and Ryan ended up taking the fight there. It's whatever. I would
I
have
was
preferred him
yelling
to
at
play
him
the.
to back up.
Yeah,
I was yelling at him to back up, and he wouldn't.
He needed to play the corner. That's all right. Okay. Okay. Because what's happening? Do you see it?
Yeah, he's engaged with the other Ryan.
Engage the entry. Now, here's this crazy thing. If you had thrown this nade and your Ryan had been on the back corner, like further back, right? Even if you had landed this nade, I would have disliked it. Why?
No follow-up?
No follow-up, right? And that's okay, because sometimes you could just nade for pressure. You could just nade to force people back. So the enemy team backs up. But does that really matter when your team is over here?
Yeah, I mean, probably not, because our Ryan was not in danger of dying there, at least not more than normal.
No, hang on. Remember,
And-
we're
and
giving
there's
you
no
a
follow-up.
theoretical example. Right now, your Ryan is fighting, so I like this nade.
Oh, okay.
But if your Ryan is all the way back here, I don't like this nade, even if you land it, because nothing's happening. So all they do is they wait 2 seconds, they walk forward, and now you don't have nade for when you need it.
Yeah, okay, that's fair, that's fair.
The rule of nade is don't save it when the fight starts. Use it as soon as you can. But when the fight starts. The fight right now is starting. So you get a thumbs up for me. Nice job. Oh, and by the way, don't necessarily prioritize the ride. I like this nade way better. Look at this. Bam! Right? Because you're like, oh, now. Because you're like, oh, that almost should have hit the Kiriko, frankly. I think that I'm surprised it didn't hit the Kiriko. But regardless,
I think I just messed up the angle. To be
it's fine. It's fine. It was good enough, right? But now this Genji is like really, really, really scared, and it can't do near as much damage. So it does the job, right? Now let's check out the sleep dart. Wait for him to take action.
Yeah.
Wait for him to take action. He's shielding. He's waiting. Nothing's happening for a brief second. It's hard because there was something happening a second ago. Just wait. Just wait.
Well, and I probably should have saved it for.
No, maybe not. Because here's what would have happened, all right? If you land the sleep dart there in the middle of a combat, your Ryan gets a massive HP advantage and starts to beat the ever-living crap out of the enemy Ryan. All of a sudden, that Genji now, if he commits on you, he doesn't get any help because the Reinhardt is hard. The supports are hard focusing on the Ryan that's losing the trade. So yes, would it have been risky? Yes, but it got value. It's a calculated risk. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's okay to sleep dart the Ryan when they have a dive character. You might decide to hold it. I'm okay with that too. It's okay. As long as you get value. The problem is you got no value out of it. Now I want to point something out. How did you win this duel? Because Tracer killed you, yeah, but that happens. How did you win this duel?
I hit shots and he
You hit
didn't,
shots.
I guess.
He hit shots and he didn't. Let's look even more carefully than that. So he entered this fight still missing HP from your nade. He also entered this fight, and one of the most challenging aspects of Genji is having him jump over your head and having to turn around when he dashes you because he just gets right on top of you, right? Now, he did hit you with his dash damage, but we talked about this. Remember, we predicted the future. His dash distance was exactly the range.
Yeah.
So when he dashed you, was there any sort of disorientation at all? No. No, not at all. Not at all. He was right in front of your screen. So there's no surprises. So you hit your shots, but you also set the stage to have an advantage in this fight because you hit your nade and because you manage your range. You manage your range. So he wasn't dashing directly through you and on top of you and jumping over your head. You did a good job. Nice job.
Alrighty.
My only problem there is the sleep dart. The sleep dart.
Mm-hmm.
You're just not scared of them diving you at that range. You know what I'm saying? Like, see how much it takes from them to even get to you. Like, the Genji and Tracer still can't get to you.
Yeah.
It's too far. They can dash, they can triple blink, they can pen, and they still can't get to you. Where should you go? You want cover, and you want an angle, and you prefer a little bit of range, right? So where is that?
I usually default to the med kit room on the right. Like
As in, like,
by
the little court here?
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah,
that's
great.
usually where I default to.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. You can upgrade it if depending on where the fight's happening, because the fight is happening on that front corner, right? Check this out. Or here.
Yeah.
Better angle, better sightline, still keeps that range, and you still have cover. Something to consider.
Got it.
But again, I don't just pick that out randomly because I saw ML7 use it, right? Because it checks the boxes, right? And that's what we want with positioning again, right? Don't memorize positions. Look at what makes sense. Like right now, this makes sense. Not just because your Reinhardt is very low, but also because do you have cover right now? Yes, it's fine. Do you have range? Yes. Do you have a slight off angle from like your BAP and Sojourn? Yeah, we got Sojourn shooting here, BAP shooting here, you're shooting here. This is good. Good try of the sleep dart. That would have landed if it had, landed, right?
Yeah.
Because the Rhine is doing something, right? So there's no way he blocks that. That's all right. It's a good try. You dying there is the real mistake, the previous fight. Okay. Use that nade. Use that nade. Use that nade. This is where your priority needs to be on nade. Your priority needs to be on nade. It is a massive dump of damage and debuff. It's just unbelievably important. It's what will help keep your BAP alive, because where would you throw the nade here? What do you see?
Well, I see they're all grouped up on cart.
You
so
got it.
I could probably just lob it there.
You lob it there. What happens when people are naded? How do they react?
Well, I mean, one reaction is the Kiriko Suzu's it.
Yeah. But even if she does, what do they do for the first second?
They're like, oh crap, wait, hold on.
Exactly. You need to force that reaction for your own team's protection. You need to force that reaction. Even if they don't Suzu it, even better, but if they do, they're still going to back off and cower, and that's going to create an opportunity for your team to retake. Nade is so important. It's why people describe Ana as being an easy character. I don't agree with that statement, but it is because so much of her kit power is front-loaded in that cooldown, which is not super hard to land, so you need to make sure that you're abusing that.
Okay. So you're just saying I should have used that earlier?
Yes, exactly. Man, you almost hit that sleep dart. I was actually pretty impressed there. Oh my gosh, that's that little flick there at the end. If the projectile came out like a tenth of a second later, I think that would have worked. Good nano. The rule with nano is just
I tried hitting the Rhine, but
it's fine. It's fine. The rule with nano is just use it on somebody who's fighting. If they're fighting, it's a good nano. The Sojourn was fighting, it's a good nano. Frick, dude, that would have, dude. Oh man, if you had shot Kiriko like a half a second sooner, I think you guys hold this.
Like with nade?
No.
Or the
like
Genji.
right here. Like if you had TP'd, if you had been Kiriko here, you TP immediately Suzu, and then I think you guys win this, right?
Yeah.
That sucks. Okay, that's all right. All right, let's we only have a few more minutes. Do you want to watch a little bit more Ana, or do you want to watch a little bit of Kiriko? It looks like we're playing a little Kiriko.
So honestly, the other VOD I sent you was Lucio the whole time. So would we be able to switch to that and do Lucio?
We could do a little bit more Lucio, sure. I told the next session that we're running a few minutes over, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Alrighty.
Okay, Lucio. I want you involved, a little bit more ratty, natty. And remember the rule with Ana was we looked for cover and angle and range. For you, it's the same thing, but the range is different. What's the range? Usually.
It's a lot closer.
A lot closer, right. So you could peel. The reason why Lucio is so good at peeling is because dive characters like playing close too, and Lucio's like, great, awesome, come on in. I'm ready for you guys, right? And that's why Lucio is such a good fielder. It's because you end up walking into his effective range. And so the problem with rank, though, is you look at the enemy comp and you're like, people just don't play full dive comps all that much. So you're going to have to be the diver. So where should you be positioned right now? There's a couple of options. What do you think?
Well, usually I just kind of default to... I generally stay around my tank unless I need to go peel for somebody or something like that.
And that can work
So
because
probably.
tanks do get close often, right?
Mm-hmm. So I mean, I'd say probably play around this pillar,
Sure.
the pillar that I'm right by,
I,
because it
I
gives me
wouldn't even.
cover.
The only problem with the pillar is that there's just a little too much range, depending on the comp, right? A little too much,
Okay.
right? I wonder if this would be appropriate, right? Where you can still hold up here and speed and heal your team while just closing the distance a little bit. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And there's something else going on here too. Do you see this?
Yep. I think
You
I'd go and help with this.
and this is good because not only is it off-angle map control, heebie-jeebie stuff, it's also because this is a closer duel than what's happening here.
Mm.
So it's a lot more attractive to you. Because again, that's what makes Lucio great. Is Lucio a mercy pocket? No. But is a mercy shoot with the person she's supporting? No. So yeah, your healing is not as impactful on the venture as it would be a mercy, but you could do damage. You could do damage. And you can get in here and you could 2v2 this, right? Something to consider.
Alrighty.
So I don't mind the tank thing. I want you to look for a close range duel that you can assist from verticality. That's the key thing. Like right there, go get her. Go get her. Go get her. Yeah. Okay, they're out. Okay, back to here because this is close. This is fine. This is the annoying part. Okay,
Yep.
now we're out. We're out. Okay. Good. Okay, I think we win this. Let's go. No. Okay. Next fight. Main thing here is just obviously I didn't know the Cassie was flanking, and then he two-tapped you, right? But the other thing here as well is just like this is just where like having a little bit more verticality, like pushing yourself just a little bit more with wall climb can save you a world of hurt, right? Just a little bit, just like getting off the floor, and then even from there, like if you're don't ever turn your back to an angle, right? Either you're looking at the angle like peeking, literally like flanking here, or you're up here, or you're up here, or you're going back and helping your venture again. Those are your options, right?
Alrighty.
I think what you would benefit from is you talked about looking at like going back and looking at review and not knowing where to hold now. I want you to look for like a close range like verticality spot and decide, should I be with my tank here? Could I be with my DPS? And just think about it. Come up with new ideas to try. Be more comfortable with experimenting here.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, this is good. I mean, that's good. You just got there late because you were dead. That's all. Oh no.
Yeah, it was quite unfortunate.
Ay. Nice. Love the little tech there, getting on the pillar there.
I've been working on that. I've been
That's
working
good.
on that.
That's good. That's a cute one. All right. Let's keep going. By the way, food for thought. All right. Just before we move on here. Just food for thought. Not a single person on your team is taking an off angle right now.
So should I?
I don't know. It's food for thought. Because you look at the situation and you're like, maybe we don't need to just speed boost my team. I think that's fair too, right? I think that's fair too. But this is why off angles matter. I mean, this is a literally death trap. Like that Roadhog kills your Ana from his trap, right? There's so much crap being vomited in this room right here. And not a single person is making them look any other direction. That's mostly on your venture. Your venture is trolling here, and your Hanzo too. But again, there's a reason why Frogger is top 500. That's all I'm saying.
And I can only control myself.
Yeah, exactly. So what I would do is I wouldn't necessarily abandon my tank here in that situation, but I will say this kind of goes back to the King's Row situation. When if this whole frontline trade thing, like you're just not finding, take an angle. Do it with a DPS if you can. But if there's no DPS, I mean, you're a lot like Tracer. You're a lot like Tracer in that regard. And you don't even need to get kills. You just need to force attention at the right times so that you can take heat away from your team.
I see, yeah.
It's like a Kiriko on the flank, but you can actually hold the angle for a lot longer than a Kiriko. You can just sit there and hold and disengage and re-engage and so on. This is fine. Just be careful. Jeez. Is that
Yeah,
another
is what it
deflected
is.
nade? Is that another deflected nade?
No, I think it was just there on his nade.
Now it's deflected.
Nope. No, no. Well,
Oh,
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It does. That is actually unbelievable. Okay.
It is what it is.
Yeah. All right. See, this is how Lucio carries, right? It's like finding the best, most valuable spot in the map. And I mean, it's happening again, right? It's happening again. It's happening again. You guys are walking through a choke, and now you're dead. And there's the nade, there's the trap. It just they're just throwing crap in the room, and not a single member of your team is taking an off angle. And this is where your solo carry potential is. Again, I think a lot of people confuse solo carrying with like, oh, I have to actually secure the kill. You're not going to get a kill in an angle. It's just not going to happen. Like, you don't have enough damage. But like, I'm so scared. Like, where is it? Yes, you just are so unbelievably lucky that she just forgot that the ability existed.
Well, the Genji did a get down Mr. President and took the nade.
Yeah, absorbed his own on his nade, exactly. And you still die, because you're still walking to a high need blade through a choke. Yeah, okay. Let's stop there. I know we're lacking some nuance there, but I hope, if anything else, that you have some ideas to toy with and to go experiment with. Let's talk about Ana. What are some goals with Ana? What do you need to practice with Ana?
Probably, I think what I'm gonna work on is thinking more like about what you said about, okay, well, here are the qualifications for like a good position of like range and that. I think range is the big one. I've never really thought about that, so I think that'll give me a new way to think about on a positioning. Is especially thinking about the range of the position I'm taking, and then of course, you know, off angles and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, creating safe distance with sightline. Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's the thing that I've gotten from this the most.
Yep. Your CDs around combat stuff. That's the only other thing I'd add.
Oh yeah, the timing. Yeah.
The timing of the
Making sure
cooldowns, right?
that stuff is happening when I use the abilities. Yeah.
Right. Lucio, experiment more with close angles, same as Ana, just a bit closer. Don't hesitate to experiment helping teammates take off angles or even solo angles yourself. I want you to just experiment more with that. Again, I know that there was like a lot of nuance off there. I have a lot of other Lucy reviews in Spylo too that might be worth taking a look at as well. We go pretty in depth on that topic with a lot more time. So if you have the time, maybe look at that. And then obviously if you have any questions, you can message me. But I encourage you to experiment with that. Encourage you to experiment. Because I think that, like, you get this idea is like, you have what I like to call a scrim Lucio, where you're not super creative with your positioning, but you're pretty much always there for the amps and the beats and when and where it's needed for your tank. The problem with that is that's extremely limiting, not just in the ranked environment, but it also limits yourself in scrim environment. And I think that's a misconception. I think people think, oh, I have a team Lucio, but in ranked you have to be more like a Reddit carry Lucio. The thing is that that's also true in scrims. It's also true in scrims. Like, you look at a lot of the top Lucios, and a lot of the times, depending on meta, they're a lot more aggressive than you are and a lot more creative with how they position. So like this whole like standing behind tank, amp in, amp out, that doesn't even work at the higher level in scrims. You got to be more mechanically challenged in that regard. And I think that's why ranked Lucio can be helpful, because it really, to play into Roadhog Torb, okay, so like you really do have to be a little bit more creative in that. So just keep that in mind.
Alrighty.
Okay, any questions?
No.